What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Dgotsauce, and I'm back with another live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in as usual. Man, we on episode number 12, and like I always say, I really do want to say this. I appreciate y'all viewership. Thank you for always holding me down, man. Thank you for all the comments, all the likes, all the dislikes, all the new subscribers that's been tuning in. I really do appreciate you guys, man. And it proves to me that my work is not going in vain and that somebody actually gives a damn. Hit that like button for your boy, man. Hit that like button for your boy. We got an interesting show today. And one of the things that came across my timeline this past week was, or these past couple of days, was black conservative versus one radical liberal or radical black liberal. And a lot of people sent this to me and said, yo, I want to see what your reaction is to it, and what your thoughts is about this whole situation. So we're gonna talk about that pretty much. It's a pretty long video, so it's definitely going to be a long show today. I think that the whole entire show is gonna just be about this right here. So without further ado, man, let's get into it, man. Black conservatives versus a black radical. Let's tune into the video, see what's going on out here in these streets.
Black culture is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's talk about that.
Stop.
Who do
You're
we vote
talking
for?
to a radical, not a Democrat. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that is any way for us to have liberation. Well, here's
So
what
when
you
you-
all keep
no,
doing.
no,
You
just
keep
give me-
interrupting me when
Well-
I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the
But
point
the
that I'm
point
going to
you're-
make.
the point that
And
you're
yet you want
raising-
me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. If I show you respect, give me the respect back. Ooh, I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go. Greetings. I am Amanda Seals. Widely
Already
known
off to a great
as
start.
a comedian,
Amanda
an
Seals.
actress, a disruptor,
Let's see
an annoying
what she's
person on the
talking
internet who
about.
always tells the truth.
Hit that like button
And I
for
am
your
now
boy,
an
man.
artistic intellectual who commits myself to making art that educates. And today, I am surrounded by 20 black conservatives.
Y'all not
My
tuning
first
in.
claim
We
is it is undeniable that
be
reparations
watching
are
the
just
20
and
versus
necessary.
1 on Jubilee. Black conservatives versus black radical. Oh, I know him.
All right, reparations, fair, necessary. My question would be, who's going to get it? Why would they get it? And how long are we going to sit here focusing
That
on
like
trying to get
button for your
reparations?
boy, man.
It's
Let me
been
know
how
y'all
many years
thoughts in
since
the
slavery?
comments down below as
150
well.
years, 1865. Whenever there's a real thing that this country wants to do, they do it. Stop Asian hate. Okay, there's a problem with the Asian hate. Let's draft a bill, sign it, and it's done. Anything that needs to be done is done. With us, it's a carrot they dangle in front of us that they don't really want to do. And it's not going to help. We need education. Oh, it's not going to help. No, it's not. We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that'll help us in the real world. So if you want to help black people, a check from the government, from our tax dollars is going to get raised, because let's be clear, everybody in here is black. We all American, we all got to pay taxes. It'll go to that. So I don't really see how this is going to help us at all.
Okay. Well, first I'll start with it will help on even just a moral level. The reality is that the United States has become very comfortable with the fact that it does not consider black people equal, and it shows that in many ways that I'm sure we will discuss over the course of today. But ultimately, there has not been a committed, concerted effort to shifting the mindset around the use of black people as a labor force in this nation back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad, we see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks who were put in internment camps. We have seen that done with Jewish folks. We have seen that done even in the case of slave owners who received reparations. When it comes to the use of tax dollars to pay reparations, and this is going to come up a lot today, it's a matter of values, right? For me, my value system circulates around the fact that I think that as a community, we should all be engaged in repair for our community. So I don't think there should be any problem with there being tax dollars spent at repairing consistent efforts that have been made to impede Black people. So the reparations you're talking about are not just related to slavery. There's reparations that have been discussed all over this nation in different communities as it relates to particular massacres, as it relates to redlining and the impediment of Black people to earn wealth by having property. There's been impediments in various ways that can be repaired.
Y'all know me,
and
man.
I want to also
If y'all know, if y'all have
reparations
watched me
that
before,
are
y'all know
considered
how
a
I feel
cash
about
payment
reparations
from a
already.
government. There's also the version of reparations that shows up in how funds are applicated to specific groups of people. So there's multiple ways in which what you're stating cannot happen could very well happen.
Let me know
now,
y'all
as far as
thoughts.
the money going towards certain things is going to help us, let's look at Baltimore Public Schools. They get, I think, the third most money per pupil in the US of A, like $15,000 per student, but yet the majority of the population that comes from
that
that
like button
environment
for your boy.
can't read. They're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as Black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing? We got 25% of us on some kind of government assistance. 1 out of every 3 Black men will go to jail. We got to do something. We got to work with our hands, work with tools, do something, because we're not doing much of anything. And also, one more piece here. Reparations, again, always anchored in front of us, never gonna happen. As long as you've been living, as long as I've been living, as long as everybody been living, they say we need it, and it never gets done. One more piece.
You just said one more piece, then you're adding
One,
another
hold
one.
on, I promise.
So hold on to it. No, hold on to it.
I'm gonna land the plane. I'm gonna land the
He
plane,
did
I
do that.
promise. Reparations is a thing, like I said, it's a carrot that's dangling in front of us. They're never really gonna get it done. And if it was gonna get done, it would have already been done. It's just something that they're using to try and make us stay Democrat. That's what I wanted to say.
Well,
'Cause
Democrats are not doing reparations either.
They're not.
This is nonpartisan. This is Black partisan, baby. Okay?
Well,
this is nonpartisan.
Who do we
And so-
vote for? Who do we vote for 93% of the time? There's no incentive.
To be quite honest, you're not talking to a Democrat. You're talking to a radical.
Okay, but who do we?
Let's land this plane very quick. Wait,
who do
sir,
we vote for?
Let's land this plane quickly.
Who do
You're
we vote
talking
for?
to a radical, not a
Democrat.
Democrat.
Okay,
And
you
so,
are your own person,
let
but
me
who
tell
do
you
we
something
vote
now.
for?
I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now.
Oh,
'Cause
no.
That's not how we're going to. That's not how we're going to enter.
We having a debate.
A debate does not require continuously cutting somebody off.
Okay, no problem.
Now, I do want to state this. You're stating things as it relates to how money is not fixing a problem without acknowledging the fact that the problem doesn't exist in a vacuum and that there are so many other factors that are determining how that money is getting spent to impede it from actually fixing a problem. You can put all the money into Baltimore public schools you want, but if you are also putting all this money into policing, into communities that are not getting resources, then you are also creating your own conundrum. The other part of this is that when you're saying they, the they is a
More reparations
broad
talk, man.
context. And the last part of this that I will say
Again,
is
if
that
y'all
you keep
follow my
saying
content,
they're
y'all
dangling
already
this in
know
our
how
face.
I
They're
feel
dangling in
about
our face.
reparations, man.
Slavery lasted for 400 years.
Shoot.
It hasn't even been 400 years since slavery. So should we be only fighting for a quarter of the time to get repair?
All right, I'm so sorry.
done?
You've been voted out by the majority.
All right.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
Let me know how y'all feel about reparations down in the
Matt
comments,
Nuclear.
man. All y'all
Matt
that are
Nuclear.
watching, man.
Matt
Hit that like
Nuclear.
button for
Matt
your
Nuclear,
boy,
give me
too,
a better
man.
handshake than that. Let's
Thank
do
you.
it.
I
All right.
appreciate having this conversation with a beautiful black woman like yourself. This is nice, beautiful arena here. I disagree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check,
She made a
especially
face
people that
like-
are in the
like
streets
that's
who
not
are
a thing.
committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship, and even entering the country. We discriminate against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education came
Is he
from.
talking
but they
facts or
lied
is
to
he
you.
cap?
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you
being
acting
impinged on
right now?
anything.
Do you
I'm
really
not, I'm
believe
telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my
Tell me.
God, this is scary.
Yeah, it's scary because it's low key true. You know, not all of it is always true. You know what I'm saying? You have your wins and your losses, but for the majority of all the violence that goes on in the hoods and all that stuff, it's majority black on black violence. And you know, the systemic racism thing, man, I hate when people say that because it's like you are putting on a stopping block, a roadblock into our lives without us even attempting to be successful. You're already telling us we can't be successful without letting us even try to be successful, just because you're saying there's systemic racism, which I don't stand for that, man. I don't stand for it at all.
Think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now.
No.
Okay?
He should be able
So,
to speak to
on
you
a basic
however
level, we
he
have to
feels,
understand that
man.
systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism, and we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. When we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No.
Double tap the
I
screen
don't
for
think
your
it
boy.
really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist, and stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact, and there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in third grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline where we can use their free labor. Then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
How are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So
Ben
how
Carson,
does King Von
Ben
happen?
Carson,
How
Ben
does
Carson,
King Von happen?
King Von
reparations.
Hold on,
Actually, no. Let me land the plane.
Yeah.
We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that black people put into this country. Let me know if y'all agree or
disagree in the comments below, man.
To really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add,
I'm really trying not to pause it, but I gotta pause it because she's just going off right now, and he's not getting a word in. But I disagree with what she's talking about. I don't think that giving out people handouts is going to actually help the situation, people are like we were saying, King Von as an example. King Von is out here. He had money, and he still was doing stuff. So what is his excuse? Like, you can't keep making up the excuse that this is systemic and this is blase blase blah, police brutality, but some people are actually sacrificing or signing up for this lifestyle, and it's kind of sad.
Reparations, and then there is remuneration.
It's actually sad.
Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point that I wanted to say? Ben Carson's
actually
cousins were
sad.
killed at a very young.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority. Okay. Please return to your seat.
Shout out to Carrie,
I
man.
hope some of y'all are acting. I really do. I really. We in LA.
We're not acting. We just
LA,
tired of
I
the
hope some people
excuses.
are acting.
We tired of the excuses, man.
Oh, what's that on your chain?
This is a coin from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, you gotta go.
That's the choice that you are making for yourself.
Yes.
Hit that like button
the
for your
thing
boy,
with
man.
the
Double
whole
tap the
reparations
screen.
thing,
We got 3
I don't
likes.
know,
We got
probably close to
43
the same
people
age, so
watching,
maybe
man.
I
Hit the
can't
like
How
button
old are
for
you?
your boy.
I'm 32.
I am 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's the liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got, not asking for handouts
It's a fact.
from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking for money from never had slaves. And let's talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves. So if you want to talk about that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fall on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery, and they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too because they believed that there would be a future where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground
this guy's
Railroad.
speaking facts right now.
Fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves?
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity.
And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president, and we had
sure do have equal opportunity. I mean, we outnumbered, but
I don't know.
Don't matter.
So
we got equal opportunity.
A black president, and
a lot of us just
voted
wasted.
for that black man. White people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have this liberal mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims.
Is he talking facts or not?
I refuse to embrace a victim mentality because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal opportunity.
Do not bring up Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby. Please.
They said the Lord's name in vain. The Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know who helped her? White people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad. Come on in.
Who helped her?
Come on in.
That's
you
true.
know who helped her?
It was a bad time back then, but
people who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things
it's a lie. White supremacy is a lie.
No, sir,
it's
that's simply
lie.
not
There's
true.
No such. I mean,
if that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves.
Hit that like button if y'all agree. If y'all
not
disagree,
because
let me know y'all thoughts.
Black culture is toxic. The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's get.
Oh,
Let's talk about that.
He's hitting her with all the points.
None of this is gonna
He's
work
hitting her
if
with
y'all
all the
just gonna
points, and
sit here
she
and make up
can't
shit.
say
We're
nothing.
having
It's not gonna
debate.
work. No, a debate has to be in facts.
You're
You are
putting off
literally
emotional
not,
liberalism
I am
right
not
now.
putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off
Emotional
unfounded
liberalism.
lies
That's what y'all
based
do. Y'all
in
start saying
conservatism.
misinformation. Remember they
It
did the
is
misinformation thing all summer where everything
Look at this
conservatives
man.
did. They said
You're carrying a
misinformation.
chain around your
He's
neck
cooking her. He's
of
cooking
an
her.
apartheid nation that actively wants to harm black people and
What about the
non-Jewish
apartheid?
people.
What
But
about
let
when-
me bring it
what
back.
about when
Let
black
me bring
people
it
were
back.
selling black people
Let me
in
bring
Africa
it. That was not happening
and
in the
put 'em in
context.
He's
of what
cooking
you're
her.
saying.
And they were selling
Let's
their
bring
own
it
people.
back.
Black people still
He's
sell their own
cooking her.
people today too. By
I don't
the
know
way,
if I'm gonna last.
we're selling our own
No.
people
I
today,
don't know if
too.
I'm gonna
You probably
last.
won't last with
No.
me.
I won't because your ignorance is so
See,
overwhelming.
y'all, that's liberals. Y'all start name calling when y'all
No,
getting
it's
defeated
not
in an
name
argument.
calling. You won't have an argument because you keep cutting me off.
Oh, well, that's fine if they don't let me come
You
back
won't
up.
even.
I made my
you won't.
point.
You didn't make.
I
your
made my point.
You haven't.
No,
made
he's
your
cooking
point.
her.
And let me
He's
just tell you
cooking her.
about your point. You started off saying we believe in hard work.
Yeah.
And we believe in being compensated.
Reparations is not though. Reparations is not hard work. It's stealing. It's Robin Hood.
You said you believe in hard work.
It's a handout.
And you believe in being compensated for hard work.
Yes.
Were slaves compensated for their work?
They weren't compensated for their work. But why should
That-
people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
Are you sitting at
be
home
giving
playing a video game?
checks?
Are
But
you
no, the
sitting at
people that
home
they-
playing a video game?
The people that they're wanting
Am I
reparations
sitting at home
for-
playing a video game? No.
The people
and
they
I don't
want
know what
reparations
I don't
for-
know who these people are that you're talking about because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video games.
The majority of the black
Where are you
community is
getting
doing a
that
lot of
statistic?
things.
Where are you
A lot
getting
of
that
things is not
statistic?
right.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I
Hey.
knew I was gonna be surrounded by ignorance, but damn, let's go.
Hey, I think she's getting cooked at this point. I'll be honest with you. Just from what I'm seeing
My
now,
hands wet from the bottle.
My hands are sweaty because
Okay.
I'm nervous. We both got sweaty
Got it.
hands. Okay.
She's
So
getting
I just wanted
cooked right
clarity
now.
because I think it'd be helpful. You said radical. I wanted just clarity on that, and then also with the reparations, you said it's not just money. It's
Elvis
other
P
things. I
says
just wanted
she's
to know, like, what do
crazy.
you see as like
I
the
agree.
grand picture of what would help?
The grand picture of what would
She's
help.
not
us.
speaking
reparations,
for
like, what
every
does that
black
look like to
person for
you?
sure.
Oh, great. Reparations, what reparations looks like to me is a combination of reparations and remunerations. And reparations are about repair for damages that have been caused based on harm. Remunerations is a monetary response to work that has not been paid for. So if you come and paint my house and I don't pay you, you can take me to court and get remunerations for the work that you have done. So we're actually owed both in this nation as black people, and there are incredibly just clear-cut records that show the buying and selling.
Listen, I'm not owed nothing. I'll be honest. I'm not owed nothing. I'm here to take what I could get, but I'm not owed nothing, man. She's not speaking for everybody.
Purchasing of slaves.
Maybe
the
y'all
work
are
that was
owing
done,
something, but
also the intellectual property that was stolen from
like,
slaves, right? Because there was
I'm
so
not
much
owed
inventing
nothing,
that
man.
was
I
happening.
like to get it out
And
the
there
mud.
is also quite a bit of other reparations that are being discussed as it relates to property being stolen, as it relates to again
Elvis
redlining
P.
and the
or
inability for
Pie
black people
says,
to get
"I agree,
loans,
bro. I'm
et cetera.
tired of this
and
bullshit."
these impediments being solely based on their race.
Bro,
As far as like
it's
discrimination.
ridiculous,
Yes,
man. We
like they're
can't
being
keep
solely
doing the
based on their race,
excuses.
but not being about
know
anything
what I
other
mean?
than you're black, so you can't, right? And so when it's very clear cut like that,
Can't
there
keep doing
are
the
very
excuses.
distinctive responses to that that can be done through a cash payment, as well as through measures that are being done to create funds for creating resources and responses like housing, like access to food, access to education, et cetera, that certain communities have not had access to because of the fallout from these things.
And I just had a quick question for clarifying. With the funds, I'm wondering, where do you think those should come from? Like the actual money, like is that we're raising money? Is it taxes? Like what does that look like?
Well, I think what they've been doing with these different reparations committees is they're looking at, all right, well, how much has this city or how much has this town or how much has this country gained from the estimated amount that was stolen from these people, right? So they're looking at like, what is this wage amount? For instance, like if you look at during that time, okay, what was the wage amount that a hired worker would get for this same work? All right. And so we're looking at how was that wage not provided and what is that pool that is being created? And then we're looking at, all right, where can that wage come from in terms of how has that wage been applied? So there are spaces where this is very clear. I think the last thing that you asked about was the difference between liberal and radical.
Yeah, please.
Ultimately, the concept of liberalism is really just not Republican, right? I mean, that's essentially what it's become.
I would disagree with that, but I understand that's your stance.
There's a very generic concept of what liberalism is, in the sense that it's simply saying that I am a part of the bipartisan mind frame, but I am not a Republican. It's a mindset. It doesn't always show up in action, but it's a mindset that says, I don't support extremes in certain ways, or, I want the government to show up in certain ways. I know there's a conservative point of view that says there should be less government, but even though it just says that, the action is very different. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation.
Thank you for explaining that.
And thank you for being very respectful.
We were told to be respectful. We're not your
She didn't get the chance to respond to nothing though,
Surrounded is
honestly.
now a podcast available wherever you listen.
I'm low key afraid of radical blacks. I'm not even gonna hold you. Radical blacks are worse than radical whites.
My next claim is that black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over-policing.
Crazy. Hit that like button for
So you
y'all
said
boy,
that
man,
black
if y'all
on
like
black
what
crime
y'all
is
watching.
Underfunding and over-policing, essentially.
Yes.
I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those. Okay. I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should that be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males that grew up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think one of the...
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision-making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting a seed inside of her. So therefore...
So it's marriage.
Well, that's
not even
that's
marriage
a part of it.
only.
That's marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was
You
less
schooling
black on
her
black
or
crime.
not?
There was less
You schooling me too,
disenfranchisement.
shoot.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other. We had to stick
What
by
was
each
there
other.
also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like those.
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions. No, I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal, we weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens, and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing...
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted.
You did.
When we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort to try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize
no
white on
such
white
thing as
crime.
white on white
There are
crime.
white
We all
people
know
killing
there's
each
white on
other
white crime.
every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day. Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for two reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen
What
this.
numbers? Okay, when you
we
say
have
that,
seen
no,
this
no,
in a real way.
but I have a
So in
question.
New
No,
Jersey.
when you say
So
when
in
you
New
say that,
Jersey.
what numbers can be trusted? Because with the previous speaker, you
I'm
said
about to
statistics all
tell
the
you
time.
right now.
Okay, so your sources can
You
be
can't
trusted,
such
right?
Let's hear
numbers.
her
No, I'm
sources.
literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing.
I'm listening.
Okay, then listen.
Oh, my ears on.
So listen, in New Jersey, they had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. Okay. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one. So that's one instance.
That's
Hold on.
one
No. You're
example.
talking to somebody that works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making content. So here's the thing.
I
So
see.
no. You see what?
Well,
The truth is, you're about to see the truth if you just give me a second. Like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm going to do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's
So
what
when
you all keep doing. You
just-
keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the
But
point that I'm going to
you're-
make.
the point that
And
you're
yet you want
raising-
me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. So if you want me to keep
Now
getting
she's
louder,
getting loud.
I will do it. But ultimately, if I show you respect, give me the respect back. I let you talk. I let you make your points. I am countering your
she's
points.
getting
And my
mad.
points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ. It's
Whatever.
A cross.
It's a cross. Same difference. You got an American flag and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
Not a cop, dispatcher. There's a
ultimately it's
difference.
it's ACAB all day over here. So let me make that clear. But let me also add to my point. My point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into. You're coming to interrupt me again.
I haven't even said a word.
All right, that is flagged. So I'm going to ask you to return to your seat.
It's a waste of my time. Y'all just want to be seen. I don't need to be seen.
Yo, that was hilarious. That was hilarious.
How are
Nah,
you?
hold
I'm
up.
Jasmine.
I'll be right back. I gotta close
You
this.
say less outfit. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I
Funny
think
though.
I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue
She started
is,
going
is
off,
having
bro.
had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head
Hit
by
that
a
like
black
button for
man.
your boy,
We can
man,
talk
if y'all
numbers
like
and
what y'all
statistics, what
watching.
the people are doing, what the white man is doing, and all that. But at the end of the day,
Good discussion
I see,
right here.
My family lives on the south side of Chicago, and
We
I think
learning a
you and I
lot.
both can attest to this. And I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are going to be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year, we know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man walking
I'm
down
sorry
the
to hear
street
that,
being
by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street
Happens
in
often.
inner cities
Happens
and different
too
things, knowing
often.
that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we got to be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around.
At the same rate?
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get to the root, like there's
we can agree on that,
okay,
sis.
because I feel like a lot
all right.
of liberals will
Justify.
argue,
Why?
like,
I'm not
the
a
white people
liberal.
are killing
I am not
people.
a
Come on,
I'm
man.
not a
You
liberal.
gotta
Okay,
agree with
well, I
that.
would say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up, they're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we
What is
killing
the
each
root of
other?
the issue?
I think the root of the issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my black grandmother, that is my black sister, you are my black sister, and you know that a black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you, and that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family.
Let me know
I
your
think, like you
thoughts.
said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what? It's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault, and the issues in our community, they're not our fault, and the white man needs to give us something. The old white lady down the street is looking at me, and I don't know why she got braids in her hair, and we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us, I believe, that we can do that. That we, my cousin, my mom's cousin, excuse me, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A black man. Doesn't
I need you to
exist.
get to the point
Like,
so
my
I can
point
respond.
is that,
That
no,
is
and
the
I'm not trying to
point.
be funny, unless, like you said, we're gonna keep it respectful.
Yeah,
so
but
don't-
but you're monopolizing the whole conversation.
I'm
We're
not
not
trying.
being
Okay, I'm
able
gonna let
to.
you speak, but
You've
let's not
done
get
that
the
the
attitude
whole
and stuff. You're
time,
my
too.
sister, and I respect you. So how
I
you
don't have
talk
an
to
attitude.
them,
I'm being direct
but
to
how
you.
you
But you're
talk to them,
literally
you're not gonna
speaking
talk
this,
to me.
and you're not going to do
Okay.
that with me either.
Okay,
so
so
you're
I'm
stating your
respecting
point, and you've been stating your point for quite some time.
So
Do you
say
have
the
a
proper
reason
ways.
for
Would
me
you
to
like?
respond?
Would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response.
The response that I have for you is that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only Black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black people are resilient?
I think that those are two different conversations. I think I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victimhood? That's my question.
But your statement about Black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's over 3 million Black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent Black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an intelligent Black woman that graduated and is successful.
Many efforts have tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities.
That's just because you're trying to be successful.
To be invested in by others.
I agree with
we are not all equal in our trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say because it is a false equivalency.
I believe that every Black person has resilience.
Every human has resilience.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
Every human has resilience. It don't matter what skin color you are, man. You can kill it.
I want to kind of get rid of it's like
any
right, left,
any
real.
any
I really
skin color you got.
Like our own personal views.
You got opportunity to kill it.
We've seen. And when it comes to your claim about Black on Black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the Black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
both happen
because
are causes.
Because you gotta clean your own house before you go complain.
Why?
Because if
you're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house,
but nobody's pouring no shit in the house.
Why can't I clean my house and bar the windows from you shitting on my house?
Because it begins with responsibility within us. If we're like, okay, oh, the white person's doing this to me, the white person's not, we're not going to ever come to the core of the issue.
They are.
We need to take responsibility.
And it's not even just the white person, because now we have seen very many races, people of very many backgrounds that are actively participating in the effort to keep a working class down. Like that is absolutely a fact. It's not just white people. So I don't attend to that. But I will say the reality of there being systems in place is real. Over-policing is a real thing. You know what's also been really real is the effort of violence interruption in certain communities, right? So we've seen this in Detroit. We've seen this in New York. We've seen this in Baltimore, where there are communities that have said, what we're going to do is we're going to be like a neighborhood watch for our community, so that before the popo even come, before 12 even rolls up in here, we're going to actually put ourselves in between the conflict and calm it down. And that has been incredibly effective. But you know what? It's not funded. It's not funded. And you would think that like city councils and mayors and governors would say, shit, you know what? This is going to save us so much money. Because why? Taxpayers keep having to pay for the fault of these police officers. And even though we say, well, only a certain number of people have died, that doesn't dispel the fact that a large amount, more Black people are imprisoned than any other group in this nation. And that is not by accident.
Again, I started with accountability. And it just seemed like
But I disagree with you.
No,
I don't disagree with you.
Because here's the thing. Look at our media. Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying.
Right.
We're glorifying violence.
Who's we? Who's we?
The Black community.
Who controls the
Black community?
Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in? And who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so let me put it in this
Who's
context.
putting it out?
I have a company.
What you talking about?
And you guys are my employees, and I determine what you get to eat every day. that's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods and
That's
you're
not
not going
the
to get to
same
have the
thing.
best vegetables, etc.
That's not the same thing at all.
Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc.
No.
This is how the United States operates.
We're not forced to listen to rap music. We're not forced to listen to cussing and swearing and domestic violence over lyrics. This is a choice that people are doing. All right. What you were talking about is people being forced to eat food that they have no other choice to eat. We have other choices of music. So I don't that right there. Let's see if we could debunk that.
A lot of us
that
that
right
don't
there,
want to admit
trash.
that as much as accountable as we
trash
want
argument.
to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There is a 1% of
Making
people
excuses.
that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising, etc. And if we don't acknowledge
excuses.
multiple things at the same time, then we simply
Making
cannot
excuses.
stop it. We can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case because we have seen when we have Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Pause. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
He didn't even debunk that. He didn't get a word.
Oh my God.
Joshua.
Hello, Joshua.
Yeah. So I have two claims I want to settle. So I'm originally from New Orleans, right? And I seen black on black crime my whole life, right?
Yes.
I don't believe it have nothing to deal with the police. It's more with the
fact,
community
Trackle.
because there's a lot of pride
fact.
that's in that city. Where to the point where this person can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna take him
stance
out.
that she's
It's that
having
simple
that.
in New Orleans.
Yeah.
She's
Now
trying to
Cali is
blame
probably the
everything
same way,
on the
but
white person,
I feel like
but
every
then
state
she
is
still wants
different.
the white
You probably
person's help at
the way
the
how
end of
your
the day,
belief
too.
is might be right, but in New Orleans it's a little different. Also, my second claim is this: we proclaim so much about Black Lives Matter, but when it comes down to a white person killing a black person, it's a big deal. It just don't make no sense to me.
Do you know what the statement Black Lives Matter is actually stating?
Yeah, well, just started off from George Floyd.
Start off from Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, okay.
So Black Lives Matter is really simply just stating that when black people are murdered by the police, that our lives should matter. And that oftentimes it is not considered. It is oftentimes presented as we deserved it, or we must have done something to cause it, and that our lives are disposable. We also don't ever see true justice on the same level as others when the police incur violence against black people. So Black Lives Matter is a statement asserting that our lives are worth justice, our lives are worth preservation, and we have seen in innumerable instances a level of restraint operated between the police and people of other races that they do not seem to carry with black people. So that's what Black Lives Matter means. It doesn't mean that anyone else's life doesn't matter. It means that ours matter just as much as their lives.
That's good that you cleared it out for people. Yeah, that's good.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you. Now, as it comes to New Orleans, tell me this. Well, first of all, it was, I think it's the senator of Louisiana who literally made a campaign ad, Kennedy it was, that said, do you want Louisiana to be run by crackheads? Like he said that, like straight
they
up.
have a bunch of them there. Yeah. They
So
do.
here's my question about New Orleans. Would you say that New Orleans gets, that particular areas of New Orleans, for instance, like the Ninth Ward?
The Ninth Ward is crazy, but I'm just saying they
But
crazy.
would you say that funding and attention is dispersed equally across New Orleans in terms of resources? Because I know that from living through Katrina, that is absolutely not the case.
I agree with you in that case. Everybody's not equal when it comes down to resources. For sure, I agree with you.
Here's the thing I want to just impart is that I think that we have a very distorted version of what resiliency and what restorative practice is, because we live in a time where we're seeing so many things happen so fast. So like we've seen technology like advance so fast, right? Like we have seen just our lives shift so fast that I think that we forget that as humans, our ability to recalibrate, to heal from trauma is simply not the same as the things that we are watching in technology. And so we cannot just casually think that
Is she
people
just
just get
making
over
excuses?
things. Katrina people in New Orleans are still reeling from Katrina.
They are. That's true. That's true.
You know what I
That
mean?
is true.
So
yeah,
when we talk about the amount of crime and violence that is still living and happening explicitly in Katrina, we have to also talk about the amount of trauma, the amount of drug use, the amount of policing, the amount of all of these things that physically harm people across the world, not just in the United States, across the world in communities that are not being served, and how those communities never get the chance to quote unquote pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree. I personally agree. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my God. Oh my God. America is so bad. America is so different. Like, we're so different. Like, what is wrong with having police? I understand not having police brutality over certain races, but what is wrong with having police? Over policing certain communities. Like, what's going on in Washington right now? Trump is like, you know what? I heard y'all cry. Y'all telling me the crime is going crazy in DC. We got to take back our streets. I personally don't see nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people in DC actually feel the same way. If you actually hear the people that live there and that are going through this daily crime wave that they keep popping up, that keeps popping up in DC, they are not feeling the crime. That's why they wanted the National Guard to come there, and that's why they wanted the police to step it up a little bit more. And it's not just because it's black people. It's because it's evil. It's trash behavior. It's crime. People are killing each other, stealing from each other. You can't walk on the street without having to clutch your purse or look at the side of you and make sure nobody's trying to sneak up on you. It's trash. And nobody wants to live like that.
I agree. Yeah,
That
for
was
sure.
fun.
It's
yeah.
just the honest truth.
Thanks, Josh.
No problem.
Nobody's
Before we
trying
go
to
any
live like
further,
that.
we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Air and
I'm
Bar
tired of-
journalism
I'm
in a
tired
time
of
when
people
you need the world around you.
saying we don't
Spectrum
need
is reporting
police.
on news. They
No,
don't
we
getting you
need
the
it.
clarity. Click the link in the advantage of our news for.
As
Isn't
if
a theory.
if
It's our
you
lived
didn't,
reality.
Now,
it'd be the
let's get
purge
into it.
outside.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Let's hear this.
Hello,
one
John
out.
Samuel. First name, first name. All right.
Blame my parents.
You're halfway through.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel
Let's
that?
get it.
Why do you feel that way?
Oh,
Why do you feel
John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe
Please,
perpetuates
give us
that
an example.
cycle of racism? Redlining. Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, can you elaborate? Like, how is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land.
Especially in
And that
2025.
inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will,
Maybe
or
back in
rent,
the day, yeah,
continue
but-
to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed Black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves.
Right.
There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where black people had one appraisal when they had their blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, right, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all of those items and put up white people and a dog in the house, and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great-great-grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before, because before I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold, you do have some validity there. But I just think these days when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with us, with those people who are perpetuating these, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is just, it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether
Congress,
it's the prison
government?
whether it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those systems? So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans, and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to put
All right,
words in your
guys, I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly? You said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, when it comes to guns in the classroom, the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are Black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 Black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. when it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not gonna put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like if so that's the difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
But
he actually
after that, people still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when it came down to,
if the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic. Because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of a people, you are literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying like, okay, if police are gonna act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about, and that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. That's not me making that up. Like, that is actual data.
All right,
so
pause.
Systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I disagree.
All right, how you doing, Amanda? I'm Ryan.
Ryan. Nice
to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right, well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay. I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that it's going to be harmful to us. Like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of Blacks. And so,
where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I looked at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing Black people up in ways that are not fair and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based, and where we're in, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so, I think that, let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where Black Americans can, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all opportunities.
Are you sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the
again,
same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I can have
the
more
same
support than
community
others.
support?
I have excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grow up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then.
Sure.
So ultimately, we
Let's
know
hear
that
it.
our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people, okay? So let's start there. When we talk about low-income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward. When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history, all right? For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, Black people were then subjected to the Black Laws. The Black Laws were specifically for Black people. The Black Laws incarcerated Black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had Black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking. So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have Black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right,
So-
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All good.
That's
the thing.
flagged.
Some of us didn't come from that, so that's why I'm like, I get this is the Black conversation, but not all Black people have the same concept and the same mindset because we did not all come from American slavery. Some of us immigrated over here. Some of us were born here. Some of us have family that, brought us over. A lot of us have a different story, but you guys all want us to feel the same way about systemic racism. Like, no, we don't all feel the same way because we didn't all experience that. Now, if you experienced it and you feel some type of way about it, then I understand, and that's a fair point. But don't try to stick us all in the same basket as you. That's my only issue with it.
Hi.
Hi again.
We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think because I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist, because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking and booty.
Well, the Nigerians I know ain't doing it. They are
we
twerking and shaking, but they
literally learned
doctors.
it from Africa.
They're
No,
doctors
they ain't.
twerking and shaking
We
booty.
literally
So
have
maybe
it
they
from
can shake
Africa.
because they got
But
the money to back it up.
that's
But do you
an
see what
unfair
you're saying?
generalization.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? We have to be honest, Amanda. When
Well,
Indians come here,
so as a fellow daughter of an immigrant,
Okay.
right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards
Props
for
to her.
folks. So shout out to my mom.
You
There's
see?
a
She's not
very
even-
big difference in growing
she's
up
not even
somewhere
from here.
and coming from a place where you are the majority
This is
and
what
where
I'm talking
your
about.
people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been
but your
here.
mama came
But
here.
this is
She
what
was
I'm talking about. My parents came from Barbados to America. Did it the right way. Got their papers, boom, citizenship. Did the test and everything. I was born here because of them coming here. You can't expect me to have the mindset of my parents were a slave or my ancestors were a slave in America, because that's not my tree. That's not how my story came. That's not me. Now, I could understand if it was a Black American, they had slaves here, their grandparents or great grandparents were slaves here, then I fully understand why you would think and have this mindset. But majority of us, especially in 2025, majority of us did not experience any type of slavery. Majority of us. And a lot of us are making excuses. It's just the honest truth. We're not being accountable. We're not saying, enough is enough. We're tired of the bad behavior, the wicked behavior. We're not even speaking about it. We're just letting it ride. But now you can see there's a pushback coming. There's a conservative movement, and clear. It's clear as day that it's gaining traction and it's getting bigger and bigger in the Black community. And that was proven this year.
the majority. So how did she succeed?
She succeeded because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
And
you're,
she had
you're-
her village.
let me say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen
On
right now
both
with an
ends.
effort to divide and conquer and have Black people fighting immigrants and have Black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
And
So
fighting white people.
white people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There
But
should
I
be an
believe that
equality.
we are becoming the new white supremacists.
We
'cause
are.
We've been
We
putting them on
are.
a pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't
We
do
are.
anything.
No, it's not that
We
we're
ain't
putting
been
them.
nothing,
It's not
won't
that
be
we're putting
nothing.
them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our Blackness against our people. When
How
we
are we
do what
joining
you're
them? No.
saying, we are saying, I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure
But
it
Amanda,
out.
what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I
What's
want
the
a life for
American
my
dream?
The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss chick. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the Black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you
It's
say
a
that
fact.
we're
It's
working
not
with
that it's
them,
whiteness, it's capitalism. And I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
But Amanda,
so
we're sitting here benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you
That's
would.
a
I
fact.
understand that we are benefiting. I understand
Yeah.
that we are benefiting from
Like, we
capitalism, but I
benefit
also
from this
understand
stuff,
that
but
we
you
would
want it
have
to be
other
gone.
people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a black radical. It's to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we
What
know
is
that
your
capitalism
solution?
benefits us, and people are coming
My
here every
solution
day.
is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes
We need
collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't.
But I feel
this
like a lot of
obsession, this obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we
who
live
do
in
not-
America,
Let me finish
Amanda.
my point.
Go
There
ahead.
are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider that to be the most important element of their identity, because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
We
I
all
agree.
deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And
You know,
that is what
but
capitalism
What makes you think
does.
that you have to earn it? That's what I'm
That
saying.
is
Like,
what
I
this
don't feel
nation
that
is.
way.
You do
What are
have
you
to earn
talking
it.
about?
You do.
I don't feel that way
That is
either.
why we are
Amanda.
criminalizing the poor.
I feel like I earn my money, but
how so?
earn
Because
my
we're
way
not
to
even allowing
exist.
for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing
Amanda,
inflation grow.
We
No,
both have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
no, we have
say
not.
that.
had
She
people that
has
have
done it
My mother came
herself.
to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my
mama
mother
was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
Good
something
for
of
your
herself.
mom,
That's
but
what
this
I'm
is the
saying.
thing.
So we can't
your
do
mom
it.
Is, I'm not, it's not, the
Making
question isn't whether or
excuses.
not some people can do it. The question and the
Making
reality is that it
excuses.
is not available to
Amanda,
everyone
you're
in an
making
equal way.
And that's
excuses.
unfortunate, man, but you know we live in a
It's
broken
not a matter-
society.
it-
I went to
well, then
Nigeria
that's what
and they're
we're
having the
talking
same
about.
problems, and
But
there's a
that's
bunch
what
of
we're
black
talking
people that are
about.
running
It's a broken
Nigeria.
society.
But it's the same thing in
But
Nigeria. and
Nigeria
they're
is
black
a
people
broken
with
society,
black
whereas
people in
Burkina
power.
Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
My final claim
Burkina-
is black
Burkina
conservatism
Faso is
fails
still
to meet the
growing, though.
needs of the working class.
It wasn't always like that.
Ant dog. Okay, talk to me.
So I think black conservatives, we're the ones who really want the best for working people.
Oh.
I think we're the ones, like a lot of the liberals, a lot of the leftists, they wanted to do things like office work. They wanted to go reparations, try to get things from the government and get handouts. We say, hey, go out there and work. Go out there and get these jobs that are available. Work with your hands, do skilled trades. That's where a lot of us talk about, skilled trades. So working class, that's really a black conservative thing, in my humble opinion.
I would beg to disagree. I think that would be true if black conservatism also created pathways for people to get those jobs and also to be able to
What?
challenge the corporations that are using their labor, that are stealing from them and not impeding them from having a union. So for instance, like in the South, right? I just left North Carolina where I met with the USSW, the Union of Southern Service Workers. This is an unofficial union of individuals who work at places like Waffle House, at Food Lion, etc. And their unofficial union is unofficial because the conservatives in that state will not allow for them to be officialized.
Legitimized.
Legitimized.
There you go. Hey, I got you.
It will not allow for them to be
Help her
legitimized
out.
because
Help her out,
then
coach.
they would be able to push back legitimately on the corporations to get fair wages, right? So like someone was telling me in this organization that she was in Baltimore getting $15.25 as a minimum wage, and then when she moved just one state away, she was now only getting $7.25 for minimum wage, but the cost of living was the same for her. So when we talk about, the effort of saying go out and get these jobs and get these trades, et cetera, I think that is valid, but I think that the impediments by leveling up corporations and by pouring into the effort of corporations to keep billionaires, as black conservatives, you are actually cutting off the ability for those people to excel.
Okay, I understand your point, but a lot of us are more about being self-sufficient. So the South, a friend of mine down there, King Randall, has a school for boys. He's 22 years old. He has a bunch of kids living with him. He's teaching them physical skills they can do. Okay,
Yeah.
being a mechanic, working on your car, working on your house, building things with your hands. So you don't got to worry about corporations. You could be your own man. You could be your own woman. And also, didn't you also say earlier that you're against unions? But are you for
No,
them now?
I never said that.
Oh, so you're for unions?
Absolutely.
So when the unions keep black folks out, you're for that as well? Because that's traditionally what they've done, keep black folks out, correct?
Obviously, I am not for that. The reality is that unions
Talk to them.
have definitely in the
Talk to them
beginning
nice.
kept black folks out. And the reason why they were keeping black folks out is because after the Civil War, when there was Reconstruction, you had all these black people that had been used with free labor, and they had skills, right? Whether they were a blacksmith or a carpenter or whatever. However, they could not get jobs because the white people who now had to fend for themselves, if you will, because they didn't have slaves, they had to go and learn all these trades.
Right.
And so they actively kept black people out of those jobs. And then what they would do is that when they would, as a union, say, we're going on strike, the black people would be like, well, we'll work, because they won't let us in their union anyway. And then when they would go and actually get those jobs that the people were on strike for, they would hang them. They would lynch them. So yes, these are real things that have taken place. But we keep having these conversations where we acknowledge the past when it's convenient, and then we only stay in the present when it's convenient. So you can't simultaneously say, well, everybody's fine now and there's no systemic racism, at the same time as stating that there are unions that are racist and unions that aren't racist. Ultimately, there is racism in the United States. It is deeply embedded. We have seen it in a myriad of examples, even just yesterday or today. And black conservatives are working against the working class because they are actively placing their vision, their ideology of black excellence in economics solely.
Well, there is racism
And in individual economics. And I think that's really the big difference of what we're talking about right now. You're talking about every man for themselves. Every man for themselves.
No. I don't say that.
Oh, you didn't say that?
I say that we have to be individual as people, as black people, but still get all of us on the same page. My friend's at school, he's not just looking out for himself, he's looking for all these kids as well. So it's like, okay, I bring myself up and then bring everybody else up, rather than relying upon the corporations and white people to lift this up. That's where we come from as black conservatives. So I think there's a difference between relying on and acknowledging that there are impediments of. And I want to acknowledge the reality that we keep seeming to bump up against, which is that everybody has equal ability, and they don't. Everybody doesn't have the same impediments. So
Yes,
for
they
instance,
do.
I grew up with a single parent, not because...
Me too.
I grew up with a
Same.
single parent, not because my father was some deadbeat that didn't have... My father has a MD from Harvard. My father has an MBA from Tufts.
My dad was a firefighter, so working class, conservative.
He just didn't want to be a parent. So when we talk about this whole idea of like, oh, the blacks that are, not doing the thing, it's not about necessarily what class you're in. It's literally just about, we live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't want to be a parent. We live in a nation that gives the option of, I don't need to be in cooperation with our community. And as far as I'm concerned, black conservatives do not address the needs of the working class, which are fair access to resources, which are equal access to getting jobs, which are equal pay to the same access as others. And we don't.
Equal to who?
Equal to other states even. Like, there's no reality where you can say that the same amount of white people are working low-wage jobs per capita as black people. A lot of the reason is because there's such a disparate incarceration of black people that it impedes their ability to get higher level education as well as higher level employment, because we know about disenfranchisement.
All right, there you go.
Hi.
Hi, Layla.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to meet
Layla.
you.
I would actually argue that the black working class is failing themselves. Wouldn't you agree that, in order to get a job, in order to qualify for a certain position and an education system
Give me
and a
your
job,
thoughts, man.
wouldn't you argue that it should be based off of qualifications and not your race or identity?
I've never argued that. I've never argued that to not
I
be the
know
case.
that you were saying that you would argue that it should be equal, right? So you're saying that there should be black Americans in education systems, in jobs, but wouldn't you argue that they should be qualified for those positions and not just placed there because of their skin color?
I've never disapproved that.
Okay, so let's say...
That's not what DEI is. Do you know that?
Well, I'm not talking about DEI right now. Well,
because you're suggesting that I suggested that somebody should get a job just because they're black. And I've never asserted anything like that.
I understand that you may not say that exactly, but a lot of the claims are, they're pointing to that.
No, it's not pointing to that. And so that is that I need to clear this up because it's a really important point.
Okay.
We live in a nation that has actively pedestaled white people. Can we all agree on that? That we
in the past,
we can't.
in the past,
in the
but
past,
not currently,
in the past.
but not currently.
So, okay, fair. Okay, so how many black people are a part of this administration's cabinet?
I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Can you fill me in?
Zero.
It's not zero.
Who?
So it seems like there may be a couple.
That's not a cabinet.
There's a few.
Scott
There's a
Turner.
few.
Okay.
Okay.
So there are.
So we got two.
So there are.
So we got two.
Can we
got
also,
two. We got two. So back to your point, DEI is about expanding.
She didn't even know the answer to that.
Not
She was just
lowering
talking.
credibility.
Okay.
So if we have a system that has very actively said these particular people are the best people simply because of their race, DEI said, or their gender.
Okay.
Because DEI mostly leveled up white women.
Okay. So it would be incorrect if it's, if we're pointing toward this, a majority of race is qualified because of the base of their skin
Absolutely.
color. Okay.
Yeah. Whether they're white, black. I
Okay,
mean, race
great.
is fake anyway.
Now, I do want to touch on a point that you did mention earlier, that you would argue that, black people have less opportunities in America. I do not agree with that. I have not had,
First of all, you're a
problem.
light-skinned woman.
And so are you.
Yes.
And you're doing great for
colorism,
yourself.
Yes, and so colorism really does serve us.
I do want to say, why do you think that is, though? Why do you think that? Do you think it's just based off the color of our skin, or do you think it's
Now
based off of
colorism
the
helps.
reputation that black people make for themselves?
Hey, make up
What
your
reputation
mind,
are black
bro.
people making for
What
themselves?
would you argue? Because I mean, when I look at
who makes the
let's
reputation for
look
black
at,
people?
Let's look at music, for example.
We already had this conversation with somebody else.
Well, we're gonna have it again. Most of the people that
are we?
Most of the people.
I'm going to shut it
most
down
of
right
the
now and
black
let you know that the reality is that when you come to black music, for you to say most of the people, you've already lost the argument.
Am I right?
There is no most of the people with black
Most
people
of-
because you haven't heard of all of black music. So let's
but
start
most
there.
of the music that is, let's say, maybe exalted or shown by
And
the
who
media,
controls-
right?
and who controls those
It
systems?
defiles
And
black
who
Americans.
Who controls the
But who's
system?
putting
The
it out
artists
there?
that
We
make
are.
the song.
No, we're the ones
actually
putting
the
it out there.
distribution systems
The
that are putting them
artists
out there
that
are
make
owned by
the
white
song.
people.
Who listens
Not
to
the
them? Because I
distributor.
can bet you most of
They're
my friends, my black
capitalizing
friends
off
that are not
of the
conservative,
artist, but
they
the
listen
artist
to that
is the
music that
one
defiles
getting
their
behind the
bodies.
microphone
who else
and
about
behind the
black
booth.
black crime, and that
Everybody
it's a good
else.
thing.
But if
Letting
we
them
right?
out.
acknowledge
Letting the
that
lyrics
they
out.
are not in the same way pursuing white voices talking about the same thing, even though they are. We simply like to start at the branches of a
Yes,
tree
they
and not at
do.
the root. We have to understand that the media is king. Okay, media is king,
and media does not favor
White people are
conservatism.
more
I can
into
tell you
rock
that right now.
and
I
more
mean, look
into
at the
metal.
protests right now in
more
Los
into
Angeles.
country.
Depending on who is in office, media
They're
does
not-
favor them.
they're
Media
not
has
Trump
never
in office
constantly
right now,
has
and
never
media is
the
not
rap
favoring
music.
Trump at all.
Media
that's
is
why it's not
absolutely
being
not
pushed
favoring
as
Trump
much.
in
Okay,
certain
thank you.
spaces because Trump is also not favoring that particular type of media. But it depends on the day. And we have to acknowledge that regardless of whether you talk conservatism or not, media has never favored black people at any point.
All right, guys, that's time. You've been voted out.
thank you.
Please
At
return to
any
your seat.
point.
Thank you.
I didn't like that argument at all. I'll be honest with you.
I'm back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, black enrollment dropped 64%. At UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism.
Bear
It's
says
race
you're right,
conscious.
exactly.
And Martin Luther King's most famous quote
Shout
is
outs to
that
Big
he doesn't
Bear,
want
man.
his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character. And the content of people's characters also includes merit.
Sometimes
we have
listening
another
to,
example
like,
of systemic
radical
racism.
people,
Burgess
radical
Owens,
black
he's a
or white
representative
people, you just
out of
gotta be
Utah.
like,
He's a black
what are
Republican
you
representative.
talking about,
He
bro?
called out the MIT president for
are
having
you
black-only
talking about?
dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people when the truth is they are actually more in danger
They're
when they're
nothing
around
but
black people? And that's
excuses,
unfortunate. It's sad that I'm
no
saying this, but it's the
accountability.
case, and I have to say it because it's true, okay? Black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery. It's barbaric, and we shouldn't be doing
Smoking
it as a
on
people. We should
Tuka.
try to get more Ben
That's a
Carson's. Ben
famous
Carson's
one right
cousins
there.
were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson to read and study to not be like his cousins. And Ben Carson separated 2 twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best pronounced neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen, right?
Ben
That's
Carson
what we
said
should
that
encourage
slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that worked.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners and
They
Arabs. The same
literally
thing.
did that.
It's funny,
And
you guys
Arabs
did
did that
that.
as well. And I think it's
Some
very
did in the
important.
7th
And I
century,
think
too.
it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of Black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, Black people did not consider themselves Black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under Blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological thing. Sure, there's a social concept, but there's biological differences that exist.
You're very convicted in your lack of information around these things. Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put upon you.
That's racism, not race. Race is simply the aggregation.
No, race is literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally
Look at us.
no.
Look at the differences.
There is many differences that are equated to ours that has nothing to do with race.
Melanin content is not biological at all.
So if you have a Black
I'm not
parent
saying
and you have a
she's
white
dumb.
parent,
I'm
and
just
now
saying
you
I
come out
disagree
looking
with
white,
her.
how is that a biological
disagree.
difference
Most
for
of
your
them-
race?
most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having
Stop,
curly hair.
stop. There's no most of them. You do not
Mixed
have
race?
anything to
You're
prove
mixed
that.
race,
She went
too.
to
I am
school
not
to
mixed
learn
race.
all
My
of
mother
this
is Black
and
and my
still
father
look
is
dumb.
Black.
Well, my father is also considered Black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA. And
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian. And I look forward to seeing your development because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you are something that you are not.
She's
are
good.
a Black person who is literally
she's a
having to
good
receive the
manipulator
results of racism, but ultimately you
and a
are of
good,
an ethnicity
talker,
that has
for sure.
thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against. You guys don't ever do this. KTS.
You
Dre,
guys don't ever do that.
KTS
Who is
Dre.
you guys?
Members of the
You
Black community
radicals.
don't want to hold people accountable, especially Black people. So KTS Dre was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You earlier said BLM
Stop
is about
referring
police.
to me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So, for example, we had a really good example of this where it's not a police because I remember you
Where
said.
are you from?
Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa, okay?
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine?
Yes.
And what is the population of Black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around Black people. And
Absolutely
there was a Black
low.
community where I lived.
And that Black community that you lived in, did they teach you about Black history in the United States?
I
Like,
learned Black history.
Are your parents Black American?
Yeah, my mom is Black. My father is Black.
No, I'm asking, were they born in the United
No,
States?
because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from Angola?
Yes. But again, like I told you earlier, right? In
lot
terms
of-
of
that's a lot of
people
Black
like
people
KTS Dre
that
were
they
shot,
say.
BLM doesn't come out for them.
We don't all have the
Remember,
same
you earlier
story.
said-
Well, I think it's
really
Hold on, can I
important
please finish? Can I please finish? You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train,
He was
subway
not
station,
causing violence.
He was threatening
Causing
people.
disruption is not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
Causing disruption is not
and the
causing
people
violence.
and the people there helped him also, and we know that he helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM. Random people on a train is not Black Lives
showed
Matter.
up. BLM showed up for that. They did.
Showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they were going to
No,
go
they
get white
didn't.
people. Now they
BLM
did.
protested.
BLM New York.
BLM
Research
protested.
that.
Where did you get that from?
I-
You see,
BLM New York.
your sources are not. You're not able to
But I have
cite
all
your
the
sources.
In New
Please go
York.
sit down.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's
you
not
can
the
try to
truth.
avoid it.
It's
You
not
can
the
try to avoid
truth. It's not the. Nothing you say is actually the truth.
He didn't actually get kicked out.
You're not even a Black American. As the daughter of an immigrant. It is imperative that
She's
black
not
people
a
from
black
other
American
places
either.
understand the disparate difference that they exist from black people in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of black Americans.
She's not even black American. All right, this is the sparring match
Passionately
right
about
here.
something that they want to talk to me about. I choose John Samuel because I like his facial hair and dashiki pairing.
His facial hair is crazy. No lie. I don't know what he was
My claim
thinking
is
about.
that black people as a community
But
need
that
to walk
piece is
away
crazy.
from the Democratic Party and progressivism completely. I'm saying
That
this from a very
piece is
unique perspective.
crazy on his
I'm not trying to
face.
shout myself or anything. This is really just my experience. Currently, I'm running for Congress, right? And one of the biggest hurdles I have in doing that is the black community. It's because they expect us to be in this box.
What's
You
the
know, kind of-
box?
The box would be, okay, you're black, so you got to be a Democrat. You got to think this way. You have to have this view
No, you
on
got
this
to
matter.
tell me, think what way?
Like-
I really want to understand.
So let's take immigration. That's
Okay.
a hot button issue right now, especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
My view is that you should come here the legal way, and that if you don't come here the legal way, you are subject to the laws of the country. But I also feel
I don't
that
think
if you're
anyone would disagree with that.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying that a lot of people, especially where I'm from San Diego, will like to put black conservatives in this box. And the reason why I say specifically in my claim that black people need to walk away from the Democratic Party is because every single election cycle, all they do is use us as their tokens. They use us as their kind of election tools. They use us as these campaign posters. They tell us to come to their rallies. They tell us to sing on their stages. They tell us to do all these things, and they forget about us 3 other years, and they remember us 4 years later. Every single cycle, it happens again and again. And I'm one of the people, like, I really appreciate you because it seems like you have love for the black community and you have a love for people, and I appreciate that. And I do too, because I don't express that in the same way as, let's say, as a black person who's a member of the Democratic Party. I get called Uncle Tom, I get called I get called a racist. I hate myself. I love myself, and I love our people. I love everything about us. We have done so much for this country. We built this table that everyone is seated at. We deserve rights. We deserve all these things. However, what I don't like more than anything, is being used. It's being used by politicians, being used by governments as some type of puppet to say, here's my black person that's voting for me. I don't like that. And it makes me sad, no matter you're Democrat, Independent,
Can I
Green Party,
respond?
whatever. Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I would add to that it's no different with the Conservative Party, that there is 1000% a use of black people to weaponize a concerted effort to literally, quote unquote, make America great again. The concept of make America great again did not start with Donald Trump. It started with Ronald Reagan, and it happened right after the Civil Rights Movement. There was a very strong, visceral response by white people after the Civil Rights Movement, after the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Fair Housing Act of 1969, the Economic Opportunity Act of 1965. These were all efforts that were put in place on a federal level to say, okay, fine, here in the damn, we gonna give you a little bit of something to get your weight up. After that, there was a active effort made by conservatives, because that's also when we saw the flip between the Democratic and Republican parties.
Flip.
There was a flip. That's actively what happened. There was a flip. And
Since Reconstruction, Democratic Party has been the party of slavery, the party of racism.
There was a flip because the Democrats were more aligned with making these civil rights concessions than the Republicans. That's the flip. Ultimately, though, the flip is what people are misappropriating, because the flip isn't a 180. Okay? The flip is literally just, we was this and now we this. And that is not the same as we are for black people. The Democratic Party is not for black people, nor is the Republican Party. Any nation that has a bipartisan system that doesn't even allow for its own people to determine who are going to be the candidates for president isn't for its people. in general, beyond blackness. So it's imperative that we begin to truly understand the systems at work in this government that not only hinder us as black people, but they hinder anyone who wants to see change because they are ultimately working together. Now, do we see one party activating higher levels of discrimination than others? Yes. Do we see one party that is more violent per se than others? Yes. And we can say this on many different levels. But when it comes to like enacting genocide or destabilizing other nations, we know that that happens on an American level, regardless, okay? I completely agree that the idea that you have to act a certain way as a black person is really problematic because the Democrats and the Republicans, neither of them actually care about black people. And when we talk about conservatism or we talk about being liberal, neither of these aspects were grounded in how do we help to repair the harm that we have caused an entire group of people who made it possible for us to even have a constitution. So you can sit here and show me whatever you want.
No. The only reason why I was going to show you this is because
even with that Constitution, we weren't even humans.
What?
When they wrote it.
So that was another fact check I wanted to kind of fact check before, but I couldn't say anything. But the 3/5 compromise had nothing to do with your 3/5 of a person. The 3/5 compromise had to do with representation in Congress. So there's a little note here if you open this.
The 3/5 compromise said that the Southern slaveholders needed to be represented fairly in Congress. And because there was so many more slaves than actual white people in the South, they were allowed to count their slaves as representation, even though those slaves did not have the ability to vote.
If we were at that time, let's say the 3/5 compromise never happened, we were a whole person as in light of the government, right? If that happened, then this America would not be the America that you know today. Because what it was is, if it was, we were counted as
You're
whole.
defending the 3/5 compromise,
Can you
bro.
just listen? Can you listen? No, listen for a second.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to get mischaracterized what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
Slavery was wrong. It was absolutely disgusting and immoral thing.
Okay.
I have nothing good to say about that. But the 3/5 compromise, if you counted a person who was a slave as a whole person at that time, most of the slaves were held in the south of the Mason-Dixon line,
I just
right?
said that, yeah.
So what would happen is they would have more representation in Congress, and thus those laws that were, by the abolitionists, those would have been gone. Okay, so that would have gave the South more power to do the things that they couldn't do. So that's why they said the 3/5 compromise, because then if it's 3/5 compromise, they don't get that power. But of course they're people, so they have to say something, and that's where this came into play. Because if it wasn't for that, this country would have looked a lot differently.
So you're suggesting that it was okay for slaves' bodies to not only be used for labor, but also used to empower those who are harming them to be fairly represented in government?
I think it's absolutely, they should have been used, period.
Okay,
I think it was
so then we agree on that.
Yeah,
so we agree on that.
It was absolutely abhorrent. There's no excuse for it. There's no justification for it.
So then where's the argument? Because ultimately, when there was an opportunity in Reconstruction for there to be equality and humans considered in a real way and protected,
Democrats torched it. Andrew Johnson.
Yes. As well as the Supreme Court. That's actually more important what we have to acknowledge. The Supreme Court torched it. The Supreme Court has actively, throughout this entire existence of this nation, been at the forefront of impeding any advancement, and it ends up sending us back over and over and over again because it doesn't have term limits, because it doesn't have term limits. It's not elected, it's appointed, and ultimately they have made it abundantly clear that they pick and choose when it's the states that are going to have rights and when they're going to be in a federal position of precedence.
Well, that has to do with the supremacy clause. So the supremacy clause is when a federal law
Supreme
is in
Court should
conflict with the
definitely have
state's
term
law.
limits.
The federal law will override. For example, in California, weed is legal, right?
But federally,
it's not. So they can come down here and they could say, hey, we're going to raid all these places, and they would be completely in line with the law.
And so this is how segregation and discrimination ended up existing even after the civil rights laws of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were passed, because Congress said we need to protect black people, and the Supreme Court said we actually are not going to give you the right to do so. For what it's worth, I think we can do this back and forth all day, but at the end of the day, I will completely agree with you. Black people need to let the Democrats go. I think black people need to let both of these parties go and figure out a way to move forward together in our own nation.
You know what? I can actually get on with that because, I don't believe that all Republicans are, good and not using us as well.
Power
I
to the
agree with
people,
that.
brother.
You know,
Power to
I
the
agree with
people.
that. And
Let's sing a duet.
I'm for no matter what color skin you are, or black, whatever it is, think for yourself. If you think for yourself and you do your own research and you want to be a liberal radical, go for it. If you want to think for yourself and be a Green Party, go for it.
I agree with this.
If you want to be
Everybody know
liberal
this is my
and be a
I'm
Republican,
singing
then
along
go
with
for
you.
it.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
You know what? I'm down for that.
Hallelujah.
Think for
Come
ourselves.
on.
Let's
All
do
right
it.
now.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, they
I think
actually
some of the
came
show
together.
and debating with Amanda, I could see that there was a care for the community and there was a care for wanting to uplift us rather than treat us like a monolith. And that's what I'm all about. Regardless if you're a Democrat, Green Party, Republican, like, I just think that people are far more complex than we give them credit.
There is an active effort of folks on any side of the aisle that want to see the elevation of black people to be able to come together and have real conversations that are grounded not in stats, and this is going to sound real woo-woo, but it's what it is, that are grounded in love. And I hope that whatever anyone took away from this conversation is the reality that I really do love black people. I love people, and I love the ability to exist on this earth and have access to joy.
I think sometimes things got a little bit heated, and that's okay because emotions
This
get
guy's
the
a
best
big
of us.
YouTuber
But I
right
think
here.
overall she did pretty well for her position. I don't agree with her for the most part, but I think she did pretty well.
Just kind of seeing this dynamic, that this is really what happens. A lot of times when we look at discourse, we look at it online, so everybody's typing and typing, but this is what real discourse looks like. When you have to really sit in front of someone and unpack your arguments, you can see the pressure that causes and how you have to really kind of have your thoughts together and how heated and emotional it can get. So I think the fact that you guys, created this space for us to be able to do that is awesome. Whether it was productive or not, we'll only see. Hopefully some of the things that, we said stick with Amanda. She was using some of my quotes, about like resilience and everything. And I was like, okay, so I'm planting a little bit of seeds there. And then of course there were times where when she was right. And I was like, you know what, she has a point. So I think it's pretty.
I think this was a good episode, honestly. I think that we learned a lot here. There's a lot of facts on both ends. And although I might not agree with her on majority of what she stands for, I do agree on her with a few things that she stands for sure, as in keeping things equal, everybody having equal opportunity, everybody supporting the party that pretty much supports you and your people. Stuff like that I can agree with, but the really radical stuff of like defund the police and over policing and stuff like that, I don't really agree with. But I think that this was a very, very entertaining episode. I ain't got much else to say. We've been here for a whole hour and 40 minutes, so we definitely was entertained with this one. Shout out to Traco. He's the one that told me to review this video. It definitely was a banger. And I will be back hopefully tomorrow night. With more episodes. We getting into our regular scheduled program. We got a few things to talk about tomorrow, as in like Trump and what else? The crime, of course. We got some crime that we gotta cover. And whatever else is new and trending that we gotta get to the people. So I thank you guys for tuning in. I really do. Make sure you guys hit that like button on your way out. This was a dope episode. Again, if you guys want me to review any videos on the channel, please feel free to DM me on Instagram or email me. All my emails and Instagram and everything you need to do to get in contact with me will be in the descriptions of all my videos. So if you guys want me to react to anything, y'all send them my way. I would love to do it. Without further ado, man, I appreciate all y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been real. It's been a pleasure. Hit that like button on your way out for your boy. And thank you, man. Again, it's been a pleasure. Until next time, it's your boy Dgotsauce, man. Peace.